Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 152 called Jamie B, Glitter Enthusiast.
Hello, everybody. This is Allie and Blair, the co-founders of Fertility Rally, and we are here to tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and how we can support you on your infertility journey.
So we wanted to let you know that Fertility Rally is the membership group that we created. It's the place we wish we had when we were in the thick of it. We offer support groups. We have private Facebook groups. We have tons of events, lots of videos, blog posts, so much content. We're starting to do IRL events as well. And we want to be there for you no matter where you are on your journey.
Yeah, our favorite part, we had no idea where this would go when we started it. And our favorite part about it is watching all of our members, which is like 300 plus at this point, connect and create true lifelong friendships. We have members that are meeting up in real life. We have members that are supporting each other on Instagram. We have members that call each other their best friends now. And honestly, like that is the most rewarding thing to see. We had no idea it would go here. And so we're inviting you to join the Rally fam.
Yeah, it's such a great space. It's a safe space. We also have fun when we can. So we would love for you to be a part of it. Check us out on fertilityrally.com and on Instagram at fertilityrally. Hope to see you guys soon.
Guys, I am so excited to tell you today about this new podcast from my friend, Dr. Laura Shaheen. Many of you probably know her, Dr. Shaheen, from social media and her incredible reels and amazing TikToks. She is so good on social media. She's also a dear friend of mine and a friend of Fertility Rally. She even spoke at our very first Fertility Rally Live on a panel of badass female doctors. So she's just awesome. And now she has her own podcast. As you guys know, she is a double board certified reproductive endocrinologist. Say that fast 10 times, and the founder of the Center for Recurrent Pregnancy Loss at Pacific Northwest Fertility. And her podcast, which is so good, is out now, and it's called Baby or Bust. So on her show, she features fertility experts and patients who, very much like on this show, are busting myths, shattering stigmas, and providing best practices to help anybody trying to make their baby dream come true. The show addresses the numerous questions that people struggling with fertility might be too scared or uncomfortable to ask, with topics ranging from when to see a fertility doctor, to surrogacy, to the emotional stress of infertility, to male factor infertility, to family building for the LGBTQ plus community, which I love. And I know you guys are going to love it too. So it's called Baby or Bust, and you can check it out today on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this right now. Check it out, Baby or Bust. Thank you so much, Dr. Shaheen. All right, guys. So today I am talking to a very cool, very artistic woman named Jamie, who you guys probably know as Glitter Enthusiast on Instagram and on her website, which is glitterenthusiast.com. She does the coolest shit inspired by her own infertility journey. She uses sterile Ivf needles to create art and decor, which is beautiful and so unique. And a lot of it ends up in the nurseries of babies who have come after infertility. So it's a very cool way that, she's, as we always say, making her message out of her mess. And she today is going to tell us all about her long and winding journey to having her twin boys and everything she went through, and then how she started creating this art to put, more of a positive spin on everything, and to take something bad, these IVF needles, and make something beautiful out of it. So I love what she's doing. She's really cool. And without further ado, this is Jamie's infertility story. All right. So, hey, thank you so much for doing this. It's so good to talk to you.
You too, Allison. Thank you so much for having me on. This is really exciting.
Yeah, me too. I've been following you on Instagram for a while. So I'll say right off the bat that your handle is Glitter Enthusiast, and you make really, really cool art and decor using sterile IVF needles. So we'll talk about that more as we go through your story, but it's beautiful, the artwork that you create. So have you always been an artist?
Thank you. So I've always been incredibly creative, really used art and crafting as my escape for when I needed that. Always my go-to. I feel like when in high school, when I was having a hard time in high school, I would kind of go to the basement which was my art studio at the time, and really create. It releases a lot for me and helps me get through things for sure.
Absolutely. And I feel like you're helping so many other people too, because you're repurposing these needles, which can have a very negative stigma or negative, vibe, and creating this beautiful artwork. And like many people are hanging it in their nurseries when they finally do become pregnant, or just in their homes. And it's such a cool way to, I think, repurpose, something that was not great and make something beautiful out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. It's been a very cool full circle kind of feeling for me. And now being on the other side of my fertility journey, it helps me honor my own journey and honor other people's journeys as they're going through it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into your story. So I know you do have an infertility journey of your own. So tell me about when you guys started to try to have kids and what happened.
Yeah. So we were from Potomac, Maryland, initially. Both my husband and I are, and we actually met in New York City on JDate.
Ooh, cool.
I know, right?
What was your first date?
We went to this place called Amber. We had a ton of sushi. Brian's a year younger than me, which was, I was so insecure about because I'd never gone out with someone younger than me. Now I don't even remember, but this was like 12 years ago. And they actually, on our date, the waitress came over and she asked for his ID for a drink. He gave it, and I pulled out my ID, and she was like, "Oh no, we don't need it."
Oh God.
I feel so old. So yeah, it was kind of a whirlwind romance in New York City. And we always kind of knew we wanted to come back to the Maryland area and have children. And, you say, I want kids, you blink an eye, you jump up and down 2 times and twirl around and the kid comes out, right?
In most cases.
So,
yeah.
Not for us, not so much for us. So we actually, we moved back to Maryland. This was early 2015. We had been trying for about 6 months at that point. And then we were trying on our own every month. There would be nothing on the pregnancy test. You know how that goes. It's incredibly draining, hard on a relationship, upsetting. You think the one thing you're supposed to do isn't happening. I jumped 2 times. I twirled around and nothing happened.
Right. Exactly. Did you have friends who were, passing you by, as it were, getting pregnant really easily and all that?
Yeah. I love how you said passing you by, because I really felt that. I've never been a competitive person, but I just felt like time was not on our side, and we were wasting time, or the time clock was ticking. I just felt like time was such a huge thing for me at that time. I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah. I mean, don't you feel like in infertility, time is so brutal? It's like there's so much waiting, but then on the other hand, you feel like the months are flying by and you're losing time. And it's such a weird dichotomy of things going quickly and things going really slowly.
Absolutely. And we moved from New York City that is full of, it was full of young people working, and we moved to Rockville, Maryland, which is full of children. So as time went by, I would feel like I would look out the window and kids would go by, and I just felt like,
So how old were you when you guys moved from the city?
So we moved back, and it took really a year and a half before we sought treatment. We were just trying on our own. And I was very convinced that I was just not able to get pregnant. That was just not happening for me. And maybe I didn't know how. It was just, And at the time, my friends were like, it's good to wait because we tried on the first time, and that's what we did. Brian and I met when I was 25. So that was kind of early, I would say, in New York time. While we had left, we came here, I was 30. I just
Okay.
turned 30 when we were moving here. A lot of my friends in New York still hadn't met anyone, and
Gotcha.
and that was their goal. So yeah, it did feel like we were earlier in the getting married, which kind of was painful a little bit, that it was the delay of getting pregnant, because I feel like the judgment was just there, right? So when I would see anyone, I think I felt like their faces were telling me, where's the kid? Even if they weren't saying that, even if they weren't even thinking about it, I just felt the pressure and the judgment probably wasn't there. And here's a good example that my husband and I love going to the farmer's market. That's our favorite thing to do. So on Sunday mornings we go, and I would look around and I would say, everyone's pregnant here. Like, I just don't feel comfortable here. I just want to go home right now. And I feel like everyone's pregnant. And Brian would be like, who's pregnant? Like, show me 3 people who are pregnant. I'm like, they're all pregnant. They all are.
Right.
Take me home.
Yeah, exactly. It does seem like that when you they're popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. So, and we would go out with our friends, and a friend would be like, I'm not drinking, you're pregnant. And I was just like, it was so hard. And I so feel that for others now. But I will say a lot of those feelings I have trouble accessing now, which is a weird thing to say, because I totally remember all the feelings, but just actually feeling it or accessing it is difficult, which was a good thing for me. So through the fertility process, I found a therapist that before we started treatment, I found a therapist that went through the same thing as me 10 years before, same doctor as we were starting treatment. And I was telling her how I was just having so many issues on Instagram or on Facebook that when I scrolled, it was all babies, 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 bumps, bumps, bumps.
Yeah.
So she was like, before I go into my story, she was like, Jamie, why don't you start your own Instagram account and make it your happy place and fill it with only accounts that you want to go on. So when you feel like you have to go on social media, you're going to a safe place.
Ooh, good advice. Good therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
Great therapist. And that happy place for me, I was like, well, what would I call it? What's happy to me? And glitter is so happy to me. I'm big into sparkles for years and years, and come from a rhinestone loving family. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, but I called it Glitter Enthusiast, and it was my happy place. And what makes me happy? Painting. And what makes me happy? Kind of showing my work and connecting with others. So that's when I started Glitter Enthusiast, as I was really starting my journey.
Yeah.
We sought treatment after a year and a half. I'm 31 at this point. And we went to Shady Grove. I literally live a stone's throw from Shady Grove, Rockville, the first Shady Grove.
Okay.
So there was no question, and that's where we were going to go. And I remember even telling my mom, I'm going to go see a fertility doctor. She was like, that's extreme, Jamie. That feels dramatic.
Why did she think that? Because you hadn't been trying for a long time, or just because it's such a big step?
She was very, very, very supportive. My parents are so supportive, but I think that going to seek treatment, because people didn't really talk about it then. We're talking, this is 6 years ago at this point. Yeah.
It's so funny. It's exactly when I was going through this too, I was a little bit before that, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. You're my people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like a huge, maybe unnecessary step, because it was so not normal that someone would have problems. So really educating my parents and now other people's parents about what it's like to support someone and go through infertility ourselves is very much a mission for me.
Oh, that's cool. So what are some tips that you can give people who are listening right now? If it's a parent or a loved one, what are a couple of things that they can do?
I would say I would send the parent, or the supporter, as we call them, to different Instagram accounts that show just buzzwords you can say, things you can say that really take yourself out of it and support the person, knowing it's their journey. So here's an example. My mom and I'm going to rat on my mom a lot. She's like the best ever. It's really having her learn how to be objective and say, that sucks. I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? You're driving this. Where it's lovely to say to someone, you know, if you relax, just when you stop thinking about it, you're going to get pregnant. If you relax, you're going to get pregnant. All of these things that we are solving the solution themselves. All of these things we think it's okay to say.
Mm-hmm.
It puts so much undue pressure on me. I would rather drive the boat because I'm going to feel a certain way today. I might feel a different way tomorrow. I might feel a different way in an hour from now based on all that's going on in my body and in my head, that I just need someone to be my rock and say, okay, I'm with you on this journey. You let me know what you need and I'm here.
Love that.
You know, and really talking about, you know, it's my life, it's my journey, but also it's my instruction manual to give others.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're if I'm was talking to my mom at that time, I would say, hey mom, I'm in a harder place today. And what I need from you is I just need you to listen to me. I'm gonna go off for a second. I just need you to listen, say, and say, I'm with you.
Yep.
And then her actually doing that to me is supportive, huge, and that she is a safe place for me. Yeah. So we started with IUI and we did 3 IUIs.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that we ever found was that there might be one of my tubes might be blocked, but maybe not. So it was really unexplained fertility, which is like the worst kind.
It is. It's so hard because it's like you just want to fix it and you just want some direction. And that's such a black hole of like, it could be so many different things. And the doctors who, you know, admittedly are human beings and don't have all the answers. And this is such a, you know, a field where there's 150 million variables that, you know, can go through somebody, and everybody's body's so different. So for them to not know makes sense sometimes, but it is so frustrating.
So we went through 3 months of IUI and kind of knowing it wasn't going to work because I wasn't producing as much as we thought. So then they said, you know, you're a perfect candidate for IVF. Why don't you start doing IVF? And to me, I was like, okay, I get my IVF appointment all set. Then I spin around in a circle. Then I'm pregnant. Right. You know, I had no friends going through this. At least I didn't know I did. And then after I started sharing my journey, like everyone came out of the woodworks and was like, oh, I'm going through it too.
Isn't it crazy how that happens? Ugh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we started IVF in 2017, January 2017. I got 5 embryos. Mm-hmm. The doctor did not recommend that I test them because I was 31 at the time, which I go back and forth with if I would have tested or not, would have, could have, Prada, you know, it's exactly hard to.
Exactly.
So I transferred a fresh embryo. Uh-huh. So I had 5 embryos. I transferred the first one and the embryo split. Yep. And it was 2 boys.
Amazing.
And it was amazing. It was like the best feeling ever in the whole world until I went for my sonogram and the nurse said, let me get the doctor. And, you know, kind of know how that goes. And you're so confused because I spun around. I clapped my hands. I clicked my heels. This was supposed to work and it didn't. And that
had you seen the heartbeat at that point before though?
I had not. Okay. I had not seen a heartbeat.
I mean, it's not that it makes it easier or harder. I was just curious of how far along.
Yeah. You know, yeah, I hadn't seen the heartbeat and I didn't even know that was a step that people were excited about. Mm-hmm. I just kind of thought you got pregnant or you didn't, like it worked or it didn't. So if my numbers were rising, they were doubling every other day, then I was going to have a live birth. I didn't know these other milestones or steps.
Same. I didn't know anything. I was so clueless.
Really?
Every step of the way.
yeah, it wasn't that prevalent then. And especially on like Instagram or when you did seek out that information, there wasn't any like cool girl's guide to IVF at that point. Now there's so many resources.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for others that that is the experience now, but also ignorance is bliss, right? So it's kind of a two-way street there.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, so we do fertility rally, we have support groups every week, couple times a week. And these women are so knowledgeable now, which is so impressive. And it means they can advocate for themselves. But like, I remember thinking, God, I didn't know any of this stuff when I was going through it. And I'm kind of, like you said, ignorance is bliss. I'm kind of glad I didn't get so wrapped up in all the details, because I think I would have driven myself crazy. And it was just like, it either is going to work or it's not. I didn't know about like beta numbers and doubling and all the potential risks, just all the things that people know now times 100.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally feel that. So in my mind, I'm like, let's try again now, time, we're wasting time again. Let's keep going. So that was January. And of course, you have to wait for your beta levels to drop and you have to wait to get unpregnant, which it's all like a big, like,
waiting to get unpregnant.
Oh my God. Here?
Oh, 100%. There's fuck in the title.
Oh, it was the fucking worst. Oh, thank you. Fuck yeah. No, it was the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait, we have to get unpregnant.
Waiting for that number to go down. Yeah.
The worst.
That's really, really hard.
It is. So we transferred our second embryo in April and it didn't work. And at the time, again, I didn't really know anyone who's going through it. I told a select few friends I was going through it, and I was talking to my therapist about it. And she was like, what if you just kind of announced it? Like, how would that feel? What would that feel like for you? Or is that something that you would be scared of? And in a second, I was like, no, sharing it would help someone else. I think sharing it would help someone else. And if I share it with that lens and not a lens of like, hey, here's the reason why I didn't show up to your baby shower. If I started sharing it and saying, someone that has absolutely no idea what could happen from that lens, that would be very helpful. And maybe that's how I would feel comfortable sharing. So I started sharing my fertility journey. And as I was doing it, I was, it was a low point in, I think it was after the second transfer didn't work. I was looking around, I was painting all the time, literally all the time, and hiding all the time. And it's so not my personality.
Interesting. Yeah.
Shy away. I just like wasn't myself. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I just felt like a different human.
Totally. I always talk about how I was so insecure. I started to feel really insecure around my friends because I felt like they were all like, she's obsessed with getting pregnant. And I felt like they were all talking shit about me. And it really messed with my psyche.
Yeah, absolutely. And the things that make yourself strong, and kind of that is stripped away from you if you allow it to be, which I definitely allowed it to be. But as I was painting one day, I kind of looked at an Ivf needle, and I paint with a lot of different mediums, but primarily alcohol ink, which is sort of a new medium. But it's very flowy, and the difficult part of painting with this medium is that you don't have that much time to do it before it dries, and you don't have that much control over the flow. So it's all trying to control the uncontrollable. See, the metaphor is coming.
Oh, yeah.
I took an Ivf needle and I was like, what if I put alcohol in it and spread it around? I don't know. This could work. This couldn't work, whatever. And I tried it, and all of a sudden things kind of clicked for me. I'm not physically growing a human right now, but maybe I am making a difference.
Yeah.
For myself and for others. So I really dove in, shared my journey, was talking about the Ivf needle piece of it. It was something that I'd never heard of anyone kind of doing before. And really sharing it with others opened my world. People reached out. from all facets of life. A lot of my parents' friends reached out that they were going through this, 30 years ago, and there were no places you could talk about it. And it was really, and we come from, I'm Jewish, my husband's Jewish, and we come from a warm, open culture, but one that is really nailed in tradition. And, feeling like I couldn't do this mitzvah of having a child for my parents and for, no one cared about but me.
Yeah, but that's a real thing. That's a legit concern. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, thank you. It was devastating. And then hearing from other people in that community, we're not super religious, but we like the latkes and the rugla. But we love the tradition and the community aspect of it. And hearing from people in that community, my parents' friends, my friends' parents who were going through that years ago and couldn't do the same things, was eye-opening to me that we need to be talking about this. So then in July of 2017, I transferred my third embryo. So I had 2 left in the freezer. Second and third transfers were frozen, and I was pregnant, and the numbers were rising, and it was all great until we got to the sonogram and we didn't see anything. We saw a fetal pole. We saw the beginnings, but the doctor's like, this isn't going to work.
Crushing.
And I remember that day. Like, I will never forget that day. It was probably the worst day of my life, I would say.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And, it's just so common, right? But I felt like broken, empty. Like, I started watching The Bachelor all the time.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Because and I was like watching on like these crazy websites from other countries, like old episodes, because it was crazy. And I
it's such a good escape. It's mindless bullshit.
Good escape. We're not talking about kids. No one's pregnant. Like,
right.
Because I felt like everywhere I went, everyone's pregnant all the time. And then I started showing my art, and I actually got out and did my first show. And I felt like people, when I was explaining the process behind it, I felt like people were sad for me. And maybe that was in my own head, but I just felt like they were like, I don't know. And then
I don't want your pity, right? Did you feel that a little bit?
Pity. Yeah. Right. I'm doing this for a reason to bring, we're going to get through it, but this art's going to last forever. And we're really speaking volumes for the future in our minds. And Ashley Fisher, who is my business partner, bestie, our husbands grew up together, and we met being their plus ones. She said to me, this was like maybe a week after my second miscarriage, let's change that word, please.
Yes.
She said to me, she was like, okay, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm pregnant. And I do with it. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know. And I was like, Ashley, I'm so excited for you. This has nothing to do with me. This is all about you. Like, this is awesome. Da, 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 da. And I was so excited for her. I got in the car and I bawled, and I just like felt like Brian was driving me around for weeks doing errands, doing this and that. And I just like cried in the passenger seat. Like, I felt like I cried in the passenger seat for like weeks. It was so bad.
Oh, I know that feeling.
So depressing.
That was me like crying after I had 4 miscarriages between my daughter and my son. And after like, I don't know which one, the second one, maybe, I remember just like laying on the floor and like pounding my fists and dramatically crying, like to the point where I made myself laugh, because I was like, this is so dramatic, but I was so sad. And I was like, I feel like I'm in a movie.
Sad.
Like, I felt like I was in a movie as it was happening, which was kind of weird.
Yes. And you're like,
because you're like, how is this my life?
Right. Which was a reason that I was like talking about it, painting about it, because that was my happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if this wasn't it for me, like that was it, So we have these 2 frozen embryos left, and they're very low grade, which I've learned is just like a beauty contest. Like, I don't think I don't know, clearly not a scientist, not a doctor, but I don't think that has much to do with anything. What I heard from it is that we need to retrieve again. And we did retrieve again.
Okay.
And I called them my like perfect embryos, because I would have my green juice every morning. I would have a cocktail of all the things imaginable. And those were my like perfect embryos, and I was just so sick of putting embryos in and something not working and all of this, that I begged my doctor to put in 2. And he was very much against it. I don't know if you hear that much, that I totally understand the reasons why, but he said, I was like, I'm putting in these 2 perfect embryos that I drank the green juice for. And he was, not about that. He said, well, you can put in 2, but it has to be these 2 that are the low grade ones.
Interesting.
And he was like, both aren't going to work. One might work. I don't know. We'll see. We'll put them in. And I knew I had the other 2 as insurance. So I was okay with that. In December of 2017, I implanted 2 embryos, and then we went to New York for Christmas week. And I was in a hotel room. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning. And I passed a blood clot and was bleeding pretty badly.
And sorry to interrupt, these were the low grade ones that you were just,
these were the 2 low grade embryos.
Got it.
So like, I didn't think they were going to work anyway.
Right. And then you start bleeding and
you're
like, shit.
Right.
That's
and it was that thing where like the worst feeling. And it was that thing where I was like, I feel like you wipe every day, like looking for blood, right?
I still do that a little bit, to be totally honest with you. Yes. I mean, not like looking for, but like if I have my period and I'll wipe and there's blood, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not like trying to be pregnant right now or pregnant, because that would just throw me into a tailspin. Like the trauma of that does not go away for me.
So much trauma. Like at work, they use like the cheaper toilet paper, and you look at it really closely, and there is like a fiber that looks like pink. Like, and I would like stare at that fiber and be like, is that real blood? Wow. That feels, it's just taking me back. But, yeah. So we're in the hotel room, and I call my mom. They're there with us, and she comes right over, and the doctor, we call Shady Grove, and they told us, I hadn't graduated yet. And they told us that, and I hadn't seen a heartbeat. So they told us that, don't go to a hospital. It's flu season. If they only knew what was coming. It was flu season. Don't go to hospital. Get an appointment at an OB. We had a friend of a friend that recommended us. We got a 7:00 or something appointment, and in Brooklyn. And we're driving from Midtown to Brooklyn, and I'm crying, and I'm miscarrying. Like, I know it. And we go in there, and I'm laying there, and Brian was with me. My mom was in the waiting room, and the doctor was like, well, here's one heartbeat, and here's another heartbeat.
Oh my God.
And I've never cried out of happiness before.
Yeah. Like pure joy.
It was the craziest thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm having twins today. This probably isn't going to last. But for today, I'm going to be really excited for myself today.
Right.
And whatever happens tomorrow, I'm just going to bottle up what's going on today and feel good about it. And
it's so interesting you say that. I don't want to interrupt. Sorry. But, I think that sometimes is part of the key of like, pregnancy after loss or infertility is like, you can only take it one day at a time. And that's like a mantra that my friend Noah Shaw, who was in our support group once, was saying was like, I'm pregnant right now. I'm pregnant right this minute. And that's all you can do is like be in the moment. And it's harder than, easier said than done. But I think it's
Totally
a good thing to keep in your back pocket for when you're going through a really hard time, that if there is a pocket of joy, like hang on to that for dear life.
Yeah. Yeah. I just felt like it was like a video game. Like I got to this level.
Right. Totally.
I'm gonna, be excited, but one day we'll get the princess.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I felt like the first trimester was, I said, a jail of my own anxiety. It was the worst. Like it wasn't as bad as the miscarriages, but maybe because it was like a waiting for a miscarriage. And I had finally seen a heartbeat for the first time. I saw 2, and I know these embryos weren't the best embryos. So that was the scariest thing. Mm-hmm. And they were untested. And I was, afraid to do all of the things. I felt like I couldn't talk to many people because the first trimester, you're not supposed to talk to anyone, which I totally disagree with. I think that the first trimester, people should be talking because that's when you need the support. Right.
That was my theory too, is always like, I don't want to keep it a secret because then if I lose it, I don't want someone to be like, I didn't even know you were pregnant. Like I want them to be there for me. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you wonder why you're not allowed to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I understand all of those reasons, but for me, I felt like I needed to. And then, July rolls around. I'm 36 weeks pregnant. My water broke. And those are my now 3.5-year-old perfect redheaded twins.
Oh, hooray. They're so cute too, Jamie. Oh my gosh. These little guys.
Thank you. Their names are Ethan and Bennett. They're just besties. They're so wonderful. And, I really try to tell them all the time. Like the other night I was having a conversation with them and I was like, I'll tell you a story about mommy. So mommy wanted a baby forever. And I tell them these things. I try to I think it's important for them to know the whole experience. But so we went to visit Shady Grove and we saw our doctor when they were maybe like 6 months old. And he was like, which one of you wasn't supposed to work? It's just been awesome. The art has really flourished since. I really, we stay true to the roots of Glitter Enthusiast, that it means happy place and provides an escape and support for others going through their journeys. We're not doctors, we're not experts, but we are supportive and we are cheerleaders. And we have really connected to so many women across the world about their fertility journeys and how to be supportive, and using other people's IVF needles sterile IVF needles, they send as they have leftovers, and they'll send it to me, and I'll do their nurseries using those IVF needles. So that's been a really cool full circle thing.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Jamie, for all that you do for our community. Guys, check out her beautiful art on Instagram at Glitter Enthusiast and her website as well. It is just so unique and such a cool thing she's doing. I can't speak highly enough about it. So thank you so much to everybody. Definitely check out Fertility Rally if you are looking for a community and a sisterhood and a place where you can, cry and also laugh and share what you're going through. We've got people from all walks of life going through all different things, from not going through treatment yet, but thinking about it, to, been doing treatment for years and years, to people who are going with surrogacy, people who've adopted or are adopting. We also have, pregnant people and new mothers after infertility. So it's an amazing group. We would love to have you join our family. Check us out on Instagram at Fertility Rally or our website, fertilityrally.com. I will talk to you guys next time.